found and sort of curated and given to an audience?
Okay, well, let me just take you back a couple of steps. I was hired at Marvel Comics. Actually, I was brought into Marvel Comics to a consulting job for them, to tell them how to organize themselves to behave like a real publisher. And the guy that brought me in, the president of the company, 2 weeks later, was pushed aside. A new president came in, and he's saying, white paper, I want to hire you to be the publisher. And I said, well, okay. And then before he got the contract done, and comes in and he says, yeah, I want to hire you to be the publisher, sign here. And I'm getting ready to sign the paper. And the corporate attorney comes running in saying, I just looked at Stan's contract. You can't sign this because Stan's contract specifies that he will be publisher for life. So they hired me technically as acting publisher. But after about 3 months of working with Stan called him up and said, he's doing the job. Give him the title. And so they made me publisher, and so I'm handed to succeed him, the first person to succeed him with the title of publisher. And I worked close. And we were there during the period known as the Comic Wars. And that's when I came into the company by Ron Perlman, and he raked all the money out of the company and offered to refinance it if he got a bigger share. And he didn't know it, but a bigger shark than him and came in and sued him and said that he had defaulted. And the court agreed and gave the company to Carl Icahn. So Carl Icahn hired me to continue on as publisher. And then Perlman, as a getting the company, threw it into bankruptcy. And so then we were working to. And then in came Ike Perlmutter, who owned Toyota, a company that made all the Marvel toys. And Ike, thrifty person, let's say, Ike fired everybody. Ike fired everybody that made more than $1. And he fired me and Stan Lee on the same day. Well, I went out and went up and started doing some consulting with DC Comics. Stan started a Hollywood studio, an animation studio, to produce entertainment for the new internet. This was around 98. So he was doing that, and Marvel realizes I was hired Stan, who was the figurehead of the company, and so they hired him back part-time and gave him a big fat salary to do that. Well, Stan still was able to keep his animation company going, but what happened is that as it was creating product, the dot-com bubble burst, and his company went under in January of 20, and it was sort of languished there, and who bought to the company. And I met the guy who used to be at Marvel. He said, I bought this of Stanley Media. I don't know what to do with them. Will you come in and help me figure out what to do with them? So I became the director of Stanley Holdings, and I became the president of Stanley Entertainment. And I started curating and going through all the assets that belonged to the company. And one of them I discovered was a superhero that Stan had created as his new version of superheroes for the new millennium. And it was a female superhero. It was actually a parody of Peter Parker, a parody of Spider-Man. And it was a slacker girl named Samantha Sims. And she gets bitten, hold on to your hats, she gets bitten by a radioactive beer can, Old Spider Fight Light beer. And so she gains these superpowers, and thus she finds herself in the awkward position of having to fight off bad guys and protect her town, even though she didn't really want to do this. She's sort of a slacker girl in her 20s, a one-room apartment. That's why she got bit by the beer can. And as such, her mother's always calling her up saying, nothing about. And so finally, she starts living up to her responsibilities as a backstory behind this. It turns out that Slam Girl's mother, unknown to her, was a superhero, and that when she had all of the bad guys after her when she was a superhero, the League of Evil Bastards. And they're a bunch of weird superheroes, like the Demolisher, Downward Dave, Zapparella, a whole bunch of crazy characters that were trying to find Slam Girl's mother. But they find Slam Girl instead, and they take after her. And her is an interdimensional character in a different multiverse who can only visit Earth ever so often. So he sends this synth in the guise of a beer can to be her protector. And when it bit her, so to speak, it imbued these superpowers on her. But we learn as we go that those superpowers can affect people different ways. When her cat drinks the old spider bite light beer, her cat gets superpowers, and so she's got a super pet, sort of reminiscence of the old DC days. And also, we find that when the villains drink the beer, they actually mutate into horrible creatures. And so we have this ongoing battle between good and evil, between Slam Girl and the League of Evil Bastards. And this was a character that no one knew about. What happened is that in August of 2000, they created a webisode, as what Stan called it, a little 4-minute animated feature that was going to show on the internet. And but the company went bankrupt in January of that new turn of the year, and therefore it never got officially launched. It never got out there. And so as I was going through all the different characters that were created by this company and owned by this company, I found it was a Stan Lee superhero that had never ever seen the light of day officially. So I kind of feel like Indiana Jones discovered. I've discovered a Stan Lee hero that not many people knew about. I've written books on the superhero genre. I've written books about the comic book, and I had never heard of Slam Girl. So what I did is I went back and started doing my research and went back and talked to a lot of the old employees of Stan Lee Media. And I talked to people like Jim Sauerkraut and a whole bunch of old-timers. And I discovered that the person who co-created Slam Girl with Stan Lee was a painter by the name of Will Mineo. And Will Mineo is known for his animations of his superhero Saturday morning programs of, Spider-Man and a number of others. So I found Will Mineo, and I said, Will, let's Slam Girl. And he said, I'm retired. I don't really want to do this. It was fun, but it's just too much. She's never seen the light of day. When you like your creation that you created with Stan to finally get her day in the sun, and he thought about it, and he got back to me, and he said, let's do it. Let's do it. He said, I've always felt that was just sort of an unfinished business. So what we've done is with Will Mineo, we've taken the original webisode did, and we've taken the Stan did, and we've put them together. Will's created well for the digital comic. The Slam Girl origin story includes information about the mutants, about variant covers, about the Slam Cat, all kind of stuff, fun stuff. We've also created a bunch of NFTs. We thought the best way to introduce the Slam Girl in today's society was through a non-fungible token. Keep in mind, the Slam Girl was created for the internet age. Now, Stan Lee, for an old guy, he had quite a vision, and back in the turn of the millennium, he saw the future of the internet, and he saw it as an entertainment medium, and he was one of the first people to start creating entertainment for the internet, for cyberspace. And Slam Girl was created specifically to live in cyberspace, and so we thought that letting her launch as an NFT would be a introducer to people, to bring her back to life and to share her with the world, and then to expand on that. And who knows where we'll go from that? Maybe I think we're going to be doing some more comics. I think we're going to be doing some more animation. I think that we're going to, maybe even go into some other media. But now we'll get in. We're having a great time, and we're bringing Slam Girl back to life. Did you guys hear that?
Yeah, yeah, it's Eric speaking. Yeah, I definitely heard that. It was in and out a little bit. Maybe it's.
I think we just lost Eric, but yeah, Shirrel, that was wonderful. It was in and out a little bit, but yeah, we got most of it. And thank you for the backstory of Slam Girl and how you came around and located this wonderful IP. I love the idea of thinking that both you and Stan Lee got fired. I mean, I think it's just far-fetched from the character that you both had. And, it just shows that, great things come out of people who get fired, so.
Well, at least Marvel was smart enough to bring Stan back. They weren't quite smart enough to bring me back, but that's okay. Here I am. I'm like a bad baby. I'm turning up again, and with a project that Stan did. So it was great. I became friends with Stan. I enjoyed working with Stan. He was a trusty, funny character. I could tell you all kinds of stories, and Will can too. Will and I really enjoy just getting together on the phone sometimes and riffing about our memories of Stan and stories that we share with each other.
Yeah, everyone loves a good comeback story. So I hinted before you jumped on that we have a robust roadmap for the project, and we have assets that you and your team have created that can easily fulfill this roadmap and then some. How long did it take for you to create? How long did it take for you and Will to, I guess, extend the assets, create the assets? How long was that process? Because I feel like there's a lot of projects out there where they literally create assets overnight and they try to throw a project together. But this was definitely more well thought out and strategic. So why don't we let our users, our listeners know the actual time it took to develop this stuff?
Well, this was a long drawn out process. We started with the webisode, so we had that, and we had some of the backstory. But basically, Will and I took probably close to 2 years to create what we've created. And keep in mind, you've only heard about the tip of the iceberg. I mean, we have created a number of NFTs and other digital properties based on Slam Girl. We have 3D battle cards of Slam Girl battling with the evil bastards, and those, as I say, are 3D. We have variant comic book code. We have the comic book, the different permeations. We have wanted posters of the evil bastards, and those are in 3D. And then there are real physical posters. And then we later on we've created the assets to morph them into monsters, to let them let the old spider bite light beer cause them to morph into NFT monsters. And then we have a wonderful, robust variant offering where we've got 10,000 different Slam Girl images that are NFTs, each one uniquely different. And we have other things coming down the line. We have more of the Slam Girl story that we're going to roll out, and we have a couple of other really neat things connected to Stan's concept of Slam Girl that we're going to roll out. And then on top of that, we're resurrecting Stan's old fan club called Scuzzle, Scuzzle. And it's kind of Stan's later day version of the Murray Marvel Marching Society. And that was the old fan club that Stan created back at Marvel. But for his animation company, he created Scuzzle. And that fan club, if anybody signs up for it, you will get newsletters. They will get various offers. They will get various new comic pages that will be created especially for them about Slam Girl and her continuing fight with the evil bastards.
Yeah, and for those in the community that just heard Shirrel speak about Scuzzle, and you want to be a part of this fan club, obviously we're going to be announcing in the coming weeks how our community members can become a part of Scuzzle. So please stay tuned. Rich and Clutch, I'm not sure if we created a Slam Girl dedicated channel in Discord yet. I'm assuming you guys are either creating it now or once we get off. Obviously, everyone that's listening right now, please join the Slam Girl channel within our Discord, and we're going to be making a ton of announcements between now and the rollout of the collection. Again, we're kind of keeping the date as a little bit of a secret right now because we have this big PR marketing campaign we're going to do. But as Mark hinted at the beginning, this collection is dropping soon. But you know, before we sell NFTs to you guys, we want you guys to really be in love with what Slam Girl stands for. We want you to be in love with obviously the backstory of how Shirrel discovered, obviously worked with Stan Lee and discovered this content and is now bringing it to the world in Web3 format. So all of us share in the responsibility of making sure that this prominent IP becomes a massive success. They're obviously trusting OneOf and our community to do that, and they could have taken this product anywhere. So it says a lot about the belief in OneOf to deliver. It says a lot for their belief and acknowledgement of how strong our community is. And I think that they love being the first comic collection to be launched on OneOf. And as our community knows, anytime Mark and I launch something, specifically when we launched Glow Gang, that was the first generative collection that OneOf did, and obviously it was an extremely successful collection. It was one of the most successful music-related collections on the entire Tesla's blockchain. With that being said, with Slam Girl, at least for this first collection that we're doing, that we'll be announcing, we will be doing on top of the Polygon blockchain. For those who are interested, I really want to actually open it up. I hope our community has some questions. I really want to open up to some questions. But I think that what really sold Mark and I on the collection, beyond obviously these amazing assets that you guys basically turnkeyed and delivered to us, was really the story that you just told, Shirrel. And I know that you're going to continue to tell that story in future AMAs and future Discords and Twitter Spaces. Your phone connection wasn't the greatest now. We'll get you live and in the flesh on Discord after this call. But I just want to reconfirm or reiterate that and please correct me if I'm wrong. These assets were created during a period, I don't want to say during a period of transition for Stan Lee, where he had left Marvel, or as you said, got fired from Marvel, and was creating his own company. And in the process of creating his own company, we're creating these assets. I believe you guys have 50 assets, if I'm not mistaken, at least 50 assets that he created. But the first of which is Slam Girl. What's that?
I've got over 100.
Okay. Okay, so I didn't even know that. All right, so you have over 100 assets that were created for Stan Lee.
I love how this number keeps growing. Sorry. It went from 50 to 100.
I like that. I like that, though.
Sure, I can't get drunk. I find things at the bottom.
There you go. There you go. There you go. We love that. We love that. So, but again, what's really, I think, kind of newsworthy, if I could throw my marketing spin on it, is that this is IP that was created while Stan Lee was in transition that Marvel doesn't have ownership over. Because I think that there's somewhat of a false narrative. I mean, I don't know, Shirrel, please correct me if I'm wrong, that Marvel owns everything related to Stan Lee. And this is a property and NFTs that were created, obviously in conjunction with Will Mineo and yourself to curate the collection. But this is an NFT collection that was created based on characters created from Stan Lee, right? Obviously, he probably did not have the vision for NFTs back then. I mean, who did? But he did have a vision, as you explained it to me, for what these characters could be on the internet. Which back in 2000, the internet was still kind of new, right? Like it was still developing.
The internet was so new that the broadband was so narrow that the webisodes were only 4 minutes long because that's all the power that the computers had to crank them out with.
So what you're saying is the webisode that we have, that we haven't broadcasted yet, but the webisode that we have that was created, that webisode basically stretched the limits of, I guess, broadband back then or bandwidth back then in terms of what was it? What,
at the
yeah.
time.
Yeah, very.
Video where we can watch a whole movie, you know. These were about the maximum limit, and Stan was right there for a guy of his age. He had amazing view of the future. He had amazing interest in where I may be technologically disinclined, and I can't get it today, but still and to know the world.
Rich, Mark, are you guys there?
Yeah, yep, I'm here.
Okay, cool. I think we may have, Franco, we may have lost you or Shirrel.
Oh, Frank. Oh, there he is. Yeah, sorry. It's just that when you put two pieces of technology together, it's not always the thing.
Right. Okay. So with that being said, I know that Shirrel has stories for weeks to tell us, and will continue to tell us as we lead up to the drop. But I really want to open it up now to some community questions, because I'm sure we have some anxious members that are really interested and want to talk about it. So, Rich, let's open it up to some questions. Franco, I don't know if Shirrel will be able to hear these questions, so please feel free to translate it to him and then get us back with a response.
I'm on standby, guys.
Cool.
Awesome. Anyone, if you have questions, either drop it in the Take the Stage channel or raise your hand and I'll pull you up. And Shirrel, hopefully we'll get the honor, like Eric said, to have you on more times in the future, because I could sit there all day, listen to your experiences and stories that you have to tell. That was awesome. We have one question from Swathy D. Any games in the making? Sounds like a cool character / series to battle with.
Franco, not sure if you heard the question or if Shirrel heard the question, but
I did not.
I did not hear anything either.
Okay, we have an audience member who was. Get Rich, reiterate.
Yep. Member's question was, are there any games in the making? So this sounds like a cool character / series to battle with.
I'm not hearing, guys. If you can hear me.
I'm not hearing anything.
Why don't you take the question?
Yeah, Franco, we hear you.
Okay, great.
What was the question?
Are there?
Do we have any?
I'm not hearing anything.
So, Eric, it seems that I can hear you. If you can.
Okay, well, I mean, I can answer the question if you guys can't hear us. The short answer is yes. There are Shirrel and his partners definitely have a vision for this character living in games. Obviously, right along the battle that was just asked about. So we've gone back and forth with them as it relates to creating a Slam Girl battle game, both with utilizing OneOf's technology potentially, as well as them partnering up with other games and utilizing this IP in other games. Obviously, very early for us to make any sort of announcements like that, but there is a game mentioned in our roadmap of this project. Next question, and good question. Thank you for that.
Minted, pulling you up.
So, are we going to be having NFTs available to purchase that are like characters in the collection, or is it going to be more of, say, like short comic collections that we'd be collecting? Or again, like you said, with the gaming space, is this something going to be directed exclusively at gaming, or is this an all of the above type of thing?
Okay, Shirrel, say that again if you don't mind, if you can hear us.
Yes. We see a broad future for Slam Girl. There's many different media platforms. We thought that was a great way to introduce her and to get her into the collectible market of today. I've got a huge comic book collection and they're physical comic books. But as we go forward, NFTs are becoming a whole new collectible that is in a whole different medium. And we want to be right there with the forefront.
Yeah, and also to elaborate, the IP partners, Shirrel and company, have delivered to us a comic already, as well, as an origin story of Slam Girl as part of the comic. We've gone back and forth internally whether we wanted to release that for our first drop, and what we're going to release for our first drop. Or Shirrel mentioned the League of Evil Bastards, and there's 8 villains that are a part of that. What we're going to do is we're going to release 4 villains, basically battle scenes from the comic. We're going to be releasing 4 NFTs of battle scenes from the comic between just 4 of the 8 villains as part of the first collection. Shirrel also mentioned, there's other things that I don't want to just let out right now because we're going to make an announcement. But we're not going to lead with the comic book. We're going to lead with an ID page, which is basically an explanation or like a short bio of Slam Girl. We're going to lead with these battle scenes that are party to the comic book, and then future collections. We obviously hope to roll out the comic book in a very robust form. What we didn't want to do is do a disservice to the IP, and we wanted to really build a community because we think that there's a community that we can go grab that extends beyond just our OneOf community here. Quite frankly, even beyond the just beyond the NFT community to the Marvel universe, which obviously Shirrel is an expert in. There are millions of people. I think I went into one Facebook group the other night for Marvel quietly, didn't announce myself, and there's 5 million plus members in this Facebook group. So the Marvel universe, as I believe Stan intended it to be, transcended races, religions, creed, cultures on an international level. And we're going to try to touch as many of those people as possible for the release of the comic book, which Mark and I, and I'm sure Shirrel would concur, is some of the coolest IP we've ever seen. So we don't want to just launch the first collection. We want to build it, add it into the roadmap, and then hopefully land on some sort of game in the future with utility.
And thank you. Just to reiterate, the battle scenes are not just a splash base. The battle scenes are actually parallel, so 3D battle scenes that walk back and forth, and you can see behind and around the characters, and it's a really cool effect. It's not just a static picture; it's much more.
Eric, another question. A few members have stumbled on to slamgirl.io. I believe that's still being updated, correct? And not in the final stage?
Yeah, great. I'm glad you guys found it on your own. That's awesome. The team, Shirrel and company delivered us a very robust website. We wanted to scale back on the website and make it catered towards our initial NFT drop. So that website is actually in the process of being edited. Should be ready by tomorrow. We're going to have a newsletter page there where everyone can sign up for the Slam Girl newsletter. and you'll be able to see like I think the roadmap might already be published there, but we're really going to be doing a big rollout and announcement on the swamgirl.io website. But yeah, for right now, go check it out and see what we have. I mean, you'll be able to see some of like the NFT images that are there. There's no pricing or quantities yet, and there's no date of the NFT release, but you all know that we come to our Discord community first. When we launch it, you'll know about it first. And I'll say it again, it is coming up soon.
Very soon.
Awesome. Thanks. Pulling up the next member. Blanca, you're up next.
More questions? Any questions about Stan? Any questions about me? Oh.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
We got you, Blanca.
You can hear me or no?
Yes.
Yes.
I was just curious. Did Stan Lee do any work with Legion M Studios?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of. Now, keep in mind, Stan had a long career before I met him and a career after we worked together. And Stan crossed places different times. I mean, not only did he do the work that he did with Stanley Media, he also went back and did some projects for DC Comics, a great crossover.
Only reason I'm asking is because I have some shares in the studio, and when it was Comic-Con in San Diego, I didn't go, but I bought a book about Stan Lee and a T-shirt, so I was just curious. That's the only reason I asked.
Don't know about that, but we got the real deal.
Oh, I know. But the book, I'm sure, is the real deal, too, because it's about Stan Lee.
Of course, of course.
No, I'm very excited about this because he's an icon. What can I say?
Oh yes, Stan was quite a character. He could be so funny and so witty and sometimes so serious. Stan is a great huckster, and I say that affectionately.
That's what made him who he was.
That's exactly right.
Great man. Thank you for answering my question.
Thanks, Blanca. Tron Skywalker, pulling you up next.
Hey, how's it going, everybody?
But
Real quick question. I just came into the comic world myself, actually buying physicals now after collecting some NFT comics, which I'm super excited for your project on that. Are these comics, what is the actual IP on these? I know it's not necessarily Marvel itself. And I know you touched on you're not exactly sure how many issues you would have for each one. Would they, I'm assuming, have varieties also, like the commons and the more rare versions as well?
yeah, we'll have different levels of books rarity, and some of the follow-ups will be almost more like comic strips that we will issue. Sometimes,
cool.
Perhaps as just an airdrop. We're publishing them under the Scuzzle fan club name, since that's the one that Stan created. They're not Marvel, and I know this is Stan after Marvel.
Oh, they're still equal in my mind. That's wonderful to hear. I am very curious on your 3D ones. That sounds amazing. Now I'm ready to see those. On the comic part, will you be able to to read them, or would they just be like the cover version of them once it gets to that part?
We have variations of it that are up to 40.
I'm sorry, I think you broke up on the last part.
I said we have variations of the first comic book that go up to 40 pages.
Oh wow, that's a lot. That's cool. And
Shirrel, why not tell him about the variations or the covers of the comics and get everyone excited about that and what the thought process behind the variations of the comic covers?
Will Minio and I wanted to create something that would be unique and have different levels of collectability. And so we created basically 10 covers. One is a promotional cover, and then there are 3 variant covers, of which there are different variants of them. For the top of the line, we basically did a parody, Amazing Fantasy #1.
wow.
So it's called, and we, colors of that, the versions of that. Then we parodied, we took an Iron Man cover, Iron Man covers, and parodied that. We type cover, and so these are cover variations, parodies that you would recognize, but they're all featuring Slam Girl.
Sweet. I'll get off the floor here and let someone else speak. My last curious question would be, Stan Lee the Great, and I know you spent a lot of time with him. Out of curiosity, what was your last conversations with him, or what was the last time you met up? And thank you for your time, and I'll let someone else speak after me here.
But first times that I spoke with Stan is I was writing a book about the comic book industry, and I wanted Stan to write an afterword to go in the back of the book. And so I called him up and I said, Stan, would you do this? And he said, well, just interview me and talk to me. And then when we finished, I said, well, I'll write this up and send it to you for your approval. And he said, no, just make me sound good. And that was typical Stan. But if you were to get a copy of the book, it's actually was written as a college textbook for Peter Lang Publishing for the comic book for people studying sequential art and animation. At the end of it, Stan says that I think this book is a good thing to even discover the next Tolstoy. And I said, well, maybe we'll discover the next Stan Lee. He said, no, I think you can aim that high.
That's perfect. Thank you for your time. Glad to be on aboard here, and I'm curious and happy for the future.
Hey, Tron, I have a question for you. You mentioned that you bought other comic NFTs. What other marketplaces did you buy those NFTs on?
I know. I was trying to avoid that question. No, I'm joking.
No, it's fine. No, it's fine.
Yeah,
here,
yeah. We're everybody's a good space. Everybody, promotes everybody else's projects, and everybody's a good, team all around. It's actually on the Vivi app, and
okay. I figured you were going to say that. All right, good.
Yeah. Thank you, guys.
Cool. Thanks, Tron. Appreciate it.
No problem. Bye.
Thanks, Tron. Manchild pulling you up.
Manchild, you're on mute if you're trying to ask a question.
There we go. How you guys doing? Good afternoon.
Hey. Pretty good.
I'm still getting used to this too, Shirrel. So please, or should I say, Mr. Rhoades? I respect my elders. How you doing, sir? It's an honor. Can I ask a straight fanboy question first?
Sure.
Okay, so I'm part of a few Discords, comic book based Discords, and we're having a very heated debate about the creation of Charles Xavier and Magneto. And with I remember meeting Stan Lee at the Roosevelt Hotel. I have to have been about maybe 11 years old, and it was the creation. I don't know if you remember those, the creation comic book conventions. And he told us, from what I could remember, that the X-Men were based on what was going on between Martin Luther King and Malcolm X during the Civil Rights Movement. Did you ever get any kind of story from him that said that Charles and Magneto were based on those two?
I talked with Stan a lot about where his ideas came from and what they stood for, and what you know, what we know is that his characters were so popular because they were what if you want to get psychological, what Jung called archetypes. They represent something that we can identify with very easily, like Loki is the trickster, that kind of thing.
Right.
And what Stan told me about the X-Men is he said it's a story of it. I mean, you're pretty right on. He says it's a story about racial relationships. It's about a group of people who are different than you and have different colors from you, and yet they're trying to save mankind, but they're hated by mankind, and that's the dynamic tension that's put together there. Yes, it was about racial relations, and he never identified them with Malcolm X or whatever to me, but I wouldn't be surprised. We always had Magneto going back to the Holocaust, being a Holocaust victim.
Right.
So there was that theme of racial discord and what have you.
Right. So Charles would have been the tolerant one, and Magneto was the one who was more isolationist and wanting, more military. I would say about it. But we just had that basically answers that. As far as Slam Girl, the comic book, is it still 100% the story that Stan wrote, or did you guys, like, how much of it is still Stan as you had to adapt it to what you're doing?
Keep in mind, it was a collaboration between Stan and Will Mineo. They created it together, and so
I didn't hear you. I'm sorry.
It was a collaboration between Stan and Will Mineo. So it's hard to know exactly which was Stan's idea versus Will's idea or whatever. Will basically would come up with an idea and take it in and talk to Stan about it, and Stan would tweak it and tell him to go this way. And as you recall, Stan was well known for what was called the Marvel method, more of a collaborative method, where he would go into his artist and give him an idea and walk away, and they would draw the comic book, and then Stan would come back and put the words in and put it together, and it was sort of a collaborative thing.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like that. Will would kick ideas around to Stan, and Stan would tweak them. What we have is probably, I would say 90% Stan. There's some stuff that we have created or extended that Stan was, created, but was never executed. It was never drawn. It was never fleshed out. And so Will, having had all of these discussions with Stan, knew where Stan wanted to go with the story and stuff like that. Will has, expanded it, but it's still Stan.
Wow. That's so awesome. Funny you said the Marvel method. I'm literally I make a cameo in the Marvel Disney Plus episode about the Marvel method myself. So that touched my heart right there.
Oh, hold on, Manchild. Is this Tat?
Hello?
Manchild, is this are you Tat?
Am I Tat?
Tat Wizza.
No, that's not me.
Okay, you sound like my boy Tat. Tat works at Hot 97 in New York. He works with Funkmaster Flex, the biggest DJ in the world, and he actually runs one of the biggest like Marvel fan club groups on Clubhouse. And I'm like, there's only one person I know who can ask the type of questions that you're asking, and it's Tat. But I must be mistaken. This must not be Tat.
Yeah, it's not Tat, and I'm actually known as a Marvel savant. I'm starting a comic book and collectibles marketplace called In the Name of Comics, and I've done like interviews with a lot of the creators of comic books as well as the executive producers of the movies and the influencers. So, I'm just new to new to One Of, but I've been collecting since 1983. I have friends in all over the place in the comic book space. And I actually would love to know about that Clubhouse thing because I'm not there. I haven't gone there yet.
Where are you based out of?
I'm in New York City.
Okay,
yeah. And the funny thing is that I've been low key with you guys, but I'm also part of the hip hop community from back then too. So I came in the game under Dougie Fresh, and
okay.
Yeah.
So let's do this. Do you have any like channels dedicated to comics or Marvel or Stan? Like any of your social channels? Are you running any groups or anything like that? Or you just
we're just focusing on our personal website and just developing it, and so that it'll be ready for launch. So it's interactive. It's gonna be nice. It's gonna be something that hasn't been done before. So I've just been introducing myself to the community online because it's completely different than it is like somebody else said about like collecting physical books. The majority of the modern collectors, they collect digital, or they're not really as invested as those of us who started in the 80s or before. You know what I mean?
Okay, so let's do this. DM me or DM my inbox is completely flooded. DM Rich with your contact information. I want to contact you in the coming days to talk about some things. I will be in New York. I will be in New York City in the very near future, and would love to get up and connect with you. In the meantime, Rich, if there's no more, and thanks for your questions. Rich, if there's no more further questions, I got to jump. We've been on this for over an hour now, but I want to just see if there's any questions in the room before we close it down. I want to say that we will definitely bring Shirrel back 100% and Will Mineo in the future, and I think that we should probably do these type of Discord AMAs or potentially Twitter Space AMAs with Shirrel between now and our drop date, because I think Shirrel just has a world of knowledge and quite frankly inspiration in this space and could talk for hours to our entire community. And I want to make sure that Shirrel's story and the Slam Girl story touches all of our community members, and we're not going to get it all in on just this one call. But with that being said, if there's no more questions, let's close the room out. If there are any questions, let's get them before we close the room out.
No, that's it, Eric, and I think you're spot on. I think we could all stay here
guys, it's been
for
fun.
hours.
Let's do it again.
There you go. Thanks, Shirrel. Rich, you closing thoughts? Mark, closing thoughts?
No, I think my closing thought is what I opened with, right? It's very rare that you have a project that's this robust. It's Stan Lee material and Shirrel Rhoades, Will Mignon, sort of giving the level of validation and able to sort of lend a layer of validation to a project that we're putting out into the NFT space. I think this project, one of the reasons why, and I'll speak for Eric here, why we took this project on is because it's special. And we really want everyone else to see how special this is. So I think, the more we can sort of do these Discords, bring it out to the true people who understand, bridging comic and NFT, and, listen to their ideas and push this project as far as we possibly can. I think it'll be overly helpful. So thank you, everyone who showed up today. Shirrel, Will, Eric, Clutch, everyone who showed up. I appreciate every one of you guys.
Yeah, I was going to add, many of you in the community know my history in the music space. You know my history with the artists that I've worked with and the deals that I've done, or at least some of the deals that I've done. but nobody on this call has done more IP-related deals than Shirrel when he was at Marvel. No one on this call has launched more IP and brands than Shirrel on this call. And this project, this Slam Girl project, which we didn't even touch on, like her being a vision of female empowerment from Stan and Will back in 2000 till now. But we wouldn't even touch on that. We'll touch on that on future calls. But this type of IP, in my opinion, starts off in Web3. It starts off with OneOf. It starts off with this community. But there's no telling. I mean, where do most good Marvel products end up? On the big screen, right? And in between that process, there's all types of merchandising, toys, and all types of brand building that happens once you build the community. So the 50-plus, 60-plus members that joined us on this call, all of you are the foundation of Slam Girl right now. You're literally the first people in the world to really know about it and really hear the story firsthand from Shirrel. Because Cheryl's been telling us, Mark and I, this story for months now, and we've just been waiting for the right moment to bring it to all of you. And that right moment is today. And the collection will be released in the very near future via strategic announcements. So look forward to those strategic announcements across our Discord. Of course, we're going to be doing press releases. Of course, we're going to have Shirrel back, and we'll have Will on and other members of their team on to discuss this project. And we're just really excited to bring it to you. On that note, I have to jump back into another meeting, but it's been a pleasure. Thank you all for staying with us for the first 15 minutes, trying to get Shirrel acclimated to Discord. I promise you his connection will be better next time, and we'll have him on. Franco, thank you for the audible last minute and bringing him on. We do appreciate that. All the members of the Immortals team who have joined us, all the members of OneOf who have joined us, and of course our community members, because we wouldn't be anything without you. So we do thank you. Feel free to throw some suggestions, throw questions in the Discord. You know, Rich, myself, Clutch, and Mark, we monitor this 24/7, and we'll relay all these questions, concerns, or even compliments back to Shirrel and his team. So thanks, everyone. Have a great day.
Thanks again, everyone. Have a great day, and we'll make sure to have Shirrel on again. Can't wait to hear from him. And as this drop gets published and more information out, I'll make sure to create a Discord channel for it where we can all huddle and gather in. So thanks again. Have a great day. Bye.